Welcome to Self-Helpful. I'm your guide, Kevin Miller, and I curate the sea of new personal development messages to bring the most influential leaders onto this show. Join me as I question my guests to better understand their counsel so we can all integrate the wisdom into our lives, because we all want to elevate our own experience and improve the way we show up for others. The Self-Helpful Podcast is presented by Ziglar, your premier source for equipping coaches. Visit Ziglar.com. Hello, Self-Helpful listeners. In this episode, how to commit to your destination, but quit any vehicle that's not getting you there. This is part 3 in my series on the art of trying. The previous 2 episodes have featured Hala Taha, host of the top-ranked business podcast, Young and Profiting, and founder and CEO of Yap Media, which is a business podcast network with an award-winning social media and podcast marketing agency for top podcasters, celebrities, and CEOs. Hala is a rock star at trying and failing until she figures out what works. And then she succeeds. In this episode, I brought on a fellow rock star of the art of trying, Broadway and movie star Renée Marino, who you can see right now as the lead female role in Clint Eastwood's movie, Jersey Boys. Renée is a frequent co-host with me because she's an expert in personal development and a master communicator. Her book is actually called Becoming a Master Communicator. As an actress, Renée Marino's job was trying and failing a lot. You do audition after audition and get told no until you finally get told yes. And it's only one yes to get in a movie like Jersey Boys, and boom, you've made it to the big screen. Renée brought us to looking at whatever we do and go after, any achievement, there is something deeper we're trying to fulfill that gives us space to try and fail or quit many different things, methodologies on the way to what works for the ultimate goal that we're striving for. If her only goal, for instance, was to be in the lead in one show or movie, that's pretty narrow and limiting. If her goal is to perform and then further to entertain and further to communicate and even further at the core to really connect, well, she can do that in a lot of different ways. So you're going to gain some incredibly liberating perspectives in this episode. You can watch the whole episode if you'd like on YouTube. Just search for Self-Helpful with Kevin Miller. All right, Renée, I wanted to do this show with you on, Hala Taha is our muse. And I talked in the first episode with her, about failure and about trying and going all out. And of course, you're, an actress on stage, and that's your business is, try and look for that one yes out of so many failures. So that was one. And that's really where I'm curious to talk with you today, because, it's one thing to go after something and be committed to it, be devoted to it, say, I'm not going to quit. I want to play with that though, with the side of, sometimes, we can't do everything. We just can't do everything. And we see it's been years since I've seen it, but back with the America's Got Talent show, and you get this little starlet or guy or whatever from their little hometown, and they're the star of the place, and everybody thinks they're awesome, and they tell them they're going to be famous, and they come and they get on stage and they literally can't hold a tune. And I think people get caught up in that. Like, it's one thing to go after it and say, I'm going to be committed to this. And over here, there is the reality that we're not going to be good at everything. And I think we get caught in that. And we hear the self-help messages of, no, you can, if you set your mind to it, you don't quit, you can do it. It's just not true. You might be able to go after it, but you might just try as hard as you can. You're not going to be good at X. Play with your first thoughts there with me, because I think we get stuck.
Yeah, it can be very difficult, especially when that thing is your passion. And you're like, no, but this is what I love. So even if the world's telling me I'm not great at it, it's what I love. And I think there's another option. And that option is that thing can stay in my life as I pursue other endeavors to make a living, to make that income. So then I can do that thing I'm passionate about on the side. Maybe it's drawing, maybe it's being an artist, maybe it's singing. Push that to the side where you can still do it, but have that mindset like, okay, but I need to find something to make money, to maybe pay for more lessons so I can improve and I can get better. So I think that's where the personal development meets that the rubber meets the road, where it's like, okay, yes, can you do it? Sure. Maybe it's going to take, though, 40 years for you to master this thing. And you have to ask yourself at that point, is this something that I want to keep pursuing if it's not bringing me income, if it's not maybe even sometimes bringing me the joy that I hoped for, because I keep getting knocked down. So it is a really a hard call, I think,
did you see it? I mean, so you in going after, I mean, you were pursuing performance from as a kid.
Yeah.
And I feel like most of the stories that I hear, and that's why I'm gonna ask you, because you lived it. You lived with these, you know, your environment was these people, you know, on stage, on screen, on whatever. And with them, did most of them, all of them, whatever, they had some propensity for it. There was some testimony along the way. I mean, did you ever find somebody and they go, no, actually there was absolutely no exposure to, you know, performing. I had no knack or capacity for it. But then one day I decided I wanted to do that. And out of the blue, I just went, learned it. And now here I am. Or was there always some, you know, some aspect of performance that was a part of them from early on?
Huh. That's a really good question. For the most part, I would say that most people, it was in them somewhere. Even if it was like just that gentle nudge somewhere where it's like, oh, I like this thing, or I think I could be good at it. Funny you asked this. I was talking to Clint when we were filming the Jersey Boys movie, and as I told you before, Kevin, like I would ask him.
You got to say Clint Eastwood so people get the full effect.
Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. There you go. The man, the myth, the legend, Clint Eastwood. And we were on set when I filmed the movie Jersey Boys with him. And I would ask him every question about everything because I just wanted to soak it all in like a sponge. And I asked him, I said, Clint, how did you start acting? Was this something you always had a knack for? And he said, I walked past an acting class one day and it was mostly women. And I said, oh, I think I need to take an acting class. that was his initial motivation, right? But then take a story like that. That was his initial motivation. But then he got in there and I'm sure he realized, okay, I could be good at this, or I'm good at this. And this makes me think of a friend I went to high school with. And this friend of mine, he's been on Broadway now, several shows, super talented, amazing hip hop dancer. We went to high school together and his name is Jonathan Rua. Shout out to John Rua. When we were in high school, he was in the band, but he never danced before. And actually he and I were dance partners for his first time ever dancing. And we did Jump, Jive, and Wail. Jump, Jive, and you gotta. And it was a swing number. And it was the first time he had danced. And he did it. And he was pretty good. It was very, very green, you'd say, new at this thing. By the next year, I went back I graduated and I came back to watch one of the dance performances. And I see John Rua up there doing In Sync, baby, bye, bye, bye. And it was like, all of a sudden, I saw Justin Timberlake pop out of the stage. And I was like, whoa, John, what happened? This is amazing. And it was like, boom, that gift was just turned on. And from then on, he's made a career out of being an incredible dancer, choreographer. So again, I go back to, I think it can appear from the outside like, oh, he's never had an idea to be a dancer, but it was somewhere inside of him, somewhere along the way. And that's what kept him going. When it's like, oh, I think I could be good at this. This is something I really like. Okay, I'm going to keep working at it. And that's when you start to say, I'm going to keep this dream alive. I'm going to keep pursuing this.
Well, and so that's what I'm fishing around for, Renee. Thanks for that. Is that You mentioned right off the bat the word passion, and I want to say, I don't know if it's true. That's why I'm playing with it. I want to say that if you have a passion for something, it likely is going to come from some aspect of a propensity, a predisposition in you that would have some, use the word gift, that would have some gifting, that would have some natural, reality within you, that I'm not going to, wake up or, come out of my youth with and have a passion for something that I have no genetic predisposition, that I have no natural talent for, that was kind of embedded in me. I want to say that because I feel like that's my experience with most people. I mean, I never had, I was just at, we were texting this weekend and I was at Little Mermaid with one of my, with my whole family, but one of my daughters is in Little Mermaid. She is I think my fourth kid now to go through at least high school performing. We'll see if any of them, pursue it outside of that, but a lot of them have 4 out of the oldest 5 now. And I look at that, Renee, there could be nothing further from me than to want to get up on stage. It just, there's no part of me. Now I'll get on the starting line. I've been on the starting line for, I think we did the math for over like 1,000 athletic, events, bike races primarily, that I'm comfortable with, but the other, none. But then again, come back to, is it a lack of self-awareness or a lack of getting some feedback when you do have somebody? I'm going to pick on the America's Got Talent type thing that does feel like, man, it is my passion. I love music. I love singing. And yet it's just not there. It's just not there. We don't want to hear that story. I don't want to hear that story, I guess. And so I wonder where we go awry there. And that's a hard question to throw at you. I mean, but just when you look at that, I do think that again is what we question when we're going after something and it's just not happening, like Hala's story. And she went after, whatever, so many times. I've got somebody else coming on the show and she had to rewrite her book 15 times before the publisher would take it. And I'm thinking, I wrote mine the first time and I thought, I kind of expect to be done. That was it, right?
Yeah.
I had to rewrite it once and I'm kind of ashamed of that. Well, that's stupid, but where do we commit to it? And where do we say, this isn't working out so well? Maybe it's not the right fit.
Well, I think it's a perspective change. Like when Hala shared her story, what I took away is that even if this path didn't work, that fire within her was always there. So she was totally cool to pivot. Oh, and if that didn't work, I'm going to pivot again, because it wasn't the specificity of that thing.
That's fair.
For her, it was, I'm going to make my father proud. And I understand that so deeply because a lot of my goals and dreams had that theme behind them all. I want to show my father that I took the gifts that I was given and the support that he gave me, and I did better than he did. That's all he wanted for his kids. I want you to do better than I could do. So every time I was up on that stage, or not even on the stage yet, but in an audition, and they were like, sorry, Renee, you're too short, or no, Renee, you look too Italian, or you're too this. It hurt. It stung. But I was like, okay, but I'm going to make my father proud. I'm going to show him that he's right. My dad always said, you can do anything you put your mind to. Don't let other people try to change you. And that always stayed with me. So that is what I believe is the deciphering factor. And for Hala, like myself, it wasn't just about the thing. It's like, no, this is a deeper why. I want to show my father, I want to make him proud. And that is what allows you to then pivot to where finally the puzzle pieces fit.
Okay, let's play with that. Thank you. I love it. So here is the commitment to an ideal of success, a level of success that I want to do, X, whatever it is, and committing to that. Then so you did that, Hala did that. And then you come down, take a step down and go, okay, what's the vehicle going to be? What's the platform? What's the methodology? So she chose, for whatever reason, that, entertainment business. I think she just liked it. She liked it. Yeah. You chose, I don't know if would you say that entertainment or performing? Or is it?
I mean, I would put them together really in my mind. Performing is entertainment. Yes, definitely being a performer. I mean, being from 3 years old, as first it was a dancer and then singing and then theater. For me, it was that ability to express myself through the means of song, dance, and acting.
Okay, so within that, then can we look next at the roles and the possibilities? I'm gonna probably badly paraphrase a story that I heard one time. I should have looked it up, but it just came to me now. And it was something about the NBA. And there was this guy who was enamored, just loved the NBA. And my memory on the story is he was Indian. He's from India. He was not very tall, very slight, had no exposure to actually playing basketball, but he just loved it, wanted to be involved. So you get the idea, and he goes forward and he became a chiropractor, something to that effect, for one of the top teams. So he traveled with them. I mean, he was, a high paid guy with all the living the dream, not on the actual basketball court.
Yeah.
And like that does seem to be Hala's story, that she went after. And at first she tried to be, the superstar on the radio or something like that. And then she tried, I can't remember, a different endeavor. She stayed within the industry, but she's tried different roles. And lo and behold, today she has a podcast and a social media agency type thing. That would you have done possibly something like that if you had not been able to make it on stage, where you didn't initially get, well, you got accolades, but you talked about that. They said at one point you're too short. What was the list? You're too this.
The list. Well, Kevin, even before I went professional and I really made a career out of this, when I was choosing a college, I knew that I wanted to, major in musical theater. And I remember even my dance teacher, who was my mentor and had all the faith in me in the world, she was like, Renee, you really need something to fall back on. Like, it's such an unstable career. And I said, nope, I'm going to do this. And I did. And I went to Wagner College and I majored in musical theater. So all along the way, it was, Renee, dancers on Broadway are tall. I'm 5'2". Renee, if you want to be in a Broadway show, it's not going to happen. And I think in a big way that fueled me even more to say, no, but watch, because I did believe in myself and in my talent. And I knew that even though the norm at that time was, no, unless you're 5'6" and above, you're not going to be a dancer. I was like, no, I'm going to do this. And there were endless auditions where it was me and 10 girls 5'9" and above at the final callback. And I'm like, okay. And maybe sometimes I didn't get the job, but you know what? I made it to the end. So for me, I knew that I wanted to be performing on that stage. But it's interesting. All those years, for decades being a performer, 2019, I start writing my book and I decide I want to activate my other gifts. And maybe I want to start being a guide for people with communication. And I took a course to be a coach. And when I think about it, I'm still in that entertainment space, so to speak. I get to be on a stage still. I get to do what I love, which is why I was a performer, which is connect with people. Yeah. So in an interesting way, it was my choice. I chose to do this. I wasn't unsuccessful and then had to pivot. I just decided to start a new chapter where I said, okay, now I want to, as you said, you and your father, when you spoke about our interview, you said transferable gifts. It's like I transferred my gifts of being a performer to now being a communication guide, a communication expert, helping people to connect better. But it really is that same love of people and connecting with people from a stage or a screen.
Okay, you bring up a great point and we mentioned this earlier, that as you are doing these things, so if you have a passion for X and you start going after that, on one hand, there needs to be some testimony. You need to be in cahoots with some people in the know and see, am I tracking, is there some possibility here? And go, oh yeah, you got some talent. You're doing well. You're learning. Okay, keep going and go to the next level and go to the next level. And there should be some, which is why you wonder how the person got on America's Got Talent. Nobody ever said, gosh, great heart, but you can't sing a lick. I mean, they must have, I feel like they must have bypassed that or just had people blowing sunshine up their butts.
Yes. Okay. The second one.
Okay. Thank you. Which is sweet and stuff, but it doesn't really serve. At some point you got to, even like with my kids, I go, gosh, God love you. But I just, with all due respect, you don't have it yet. I see no propensity. So somebody should have said that. Now, at the higher levels, however, where the rubber hits the road, it's interesting when you talk about that you had some people, not be fully supportive at the high levels. Because I just saw this recently, Renee, and I'm not sure if it was social media somewhere, and probably somebody on my team said, hey, there's a direct message you need to go to or whatever. So I went somewhere and I didn't even hear it. It was just the little clips, and I probably watched 10 seconds of it. And it was Brad Pitt talking to Adam Sandler. And it was something to the effect of Brad saying, I remember the story of Adam Sandler being at a high level of acting with an acting coach or with something. And the guy finally said, Adam, I really appreciate or honor, what you've done to get this far, but you just don't have it. And obviously he did. But I wonder what the rest of the story is. And again, I didn't think about it. I didn't plan that until now, but maybe he didn't in a certain capacity that he was going after, and he found his unique place. I mean, because Adam Sandler, I don't think he's ever going to win a Grammy, or what's the acting? Is that the
Oscar?
Oscar?
Yeah. Oscar.
I mean, maybe he will actually. I just watched one recently where he was a more serious role, and I really appreciated him, even far more so than the old funny stuff. But maybe he found his place. And I have heard a lot of stories like yours where somebody said, okay, yeah, I mean, you got it down, but you're just too short or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you're going, well, I think I can be good enough to get past that. And you do that. So there's that aspect. So what I'm playing with is you do want to ask and get some testimony and some accountability. Though real quick, I would say from people in the know, which your family may not be the people in the know.
Yes.
Your folks weren't professional performers to tell you that. So go outside of that and get some testimony. And yet, as you move on, you may very likely have at some point somebody who is really in the know, you're at a high level, say that maybe you can't. But I would say if you're at that point, you got some viability to bypass that. So we got a balance there of, what would you say, accountability or
Okay. I think in our lives, we need both of those people in our corner. We need those people who are just like, you're amazing, we love you, our family, who are going to let us know that they love us unconditionally. Yeah, you're great. But if it becomes something that you really want to develop into a career and you're really serious about this, you need those other people in your camp that are like, okay, Kev, you are great. You are great on this podcast. You are great doing this and that. But when you bake, you're not the best. Like we need that. We need that honesty, because that is what helps push us forward. I needed those acting teachers and my dance teachers and my voice teachers to be like, all right, Renee, all right, that note's a little off. You need to open your mouth more and really work with me and tell me when things were not as effective as they could be, because that's what pushed me to be better, to be at the top of my game. And with Hala, again, I felt there were so many similarities between her story and mine. When she said that she was like the black sheep of her family, all of her family were like doctors. Yeah. I mean, me too. No one in my family were professional performers. My dad worked in a factory. My mom was a hairdresser. Don't get me wrong. My mom and dad have natural, they used to dance disco together, not professionally.
So they got some charisma going on.
Yes. They have some charisma. So definitely I got that genetically, that ability to dance and move and hear the musicality. But no one ever did this professionally or even thought about it. My uncle would sing in doo-wop groups, but not on a professional level. So when I said, yeah, I want to be on Broadway, that was like I'm going to be a quarterback in the NFL. It's like, oh, okay. And with Hala, it was the same thing where she felt like, oh, I'm in this entertainment space. I know she was interning at Hot 97. which was a radio station that I used to listen to all the time. And for her family, that's like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So she had that aspect, but she also had her father, which was like the person who grounded her. And I believe we all need that person. It doesn't have to be like our family member. It could be a friend. It could be a mentor. But from what she said, it seems like that's really what pushed her along. And same with me. It was my father always being like, you can do absolutely anything. Absolutely anything. And as long as you stay true to yourself, that's all you need, because people are always going to try to change you. People are always going to try to knock you down, but you just stay true to who you are and you'll be fine. Right.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I didn't think about it. It's so relevant to my own story as well, pursuing sports. My parents had no sports ever in their background, and here I go after it. So they support me. But my mom probably, my gosh, God bless her mother's heart, be hard for her to dissuade me in any way. She's like, Kevin, you can do it. You're the best. I do remember my dad at a nationals BMX race in whatever state at some point, and I wasn't doing so well, and I was frustrated. And he finally sat me down. He says, "Okay, we're going to watch. We're going to watch the best of the best, and we're going to make notes of what they're doing that you're not doing." And I remember that was hard. I was kind of frustrated. It kind of hurt my ego. And yet he's totally, totally right. And so to have somebody who's going to be honest with you along the way. Now, I wish I had somebody at the high levels after I became a pro cyclist. That should be the end of the story. But that's my story. I say it kind of jokingly, but it was really true. And I have a lot of regrets. I was an incredibly mediocre, chaotic pro cyclist. And I wish somebody had come along and said, dude, I don't know that you have what it takes. I wish they'd have said this. I either would have stopped doing it or I would have gotten serious about it, because I wasn't. I was never serious about it. I was more serious just about having experiences and having fun and whatever. And maybe that's okay. But man, I wasted a lot of opportunities. Somebody said, dude, I don't think you're that coachable. It doesn't look like you're serious enough to put in the real work to get to the level that you say you want to be. And X, Y, Z. I wish somebody had come in, or I had allowed somebody. And really, that's a lot of what we seem to be coming to here, that we need to pursue those people. I didn't pursue somebody to go, look, I want to be good. I'm having some good times but some bad times too. How can I get better? I didn't do that. So shame on me. Just like apparently the, America's Got Talent small town kid didn't finally go to somebody at the local university or somewhere to go, okay, parents say I'm great. They let me sing at karaoke. The local rodeo said I was really good, but come on, for real, let me know. Mm-hmm. We've got to do that. We've got to hold ourselves up for that critiquing. Really, and especially if it's something in our passion, I guess that's a fearful place, because we don't want somebody to knock us down off of that. But we may need, that's not we need somebody to help direct us. Does that sound better?
Yes. And on the flip side, Kevin, I think for people, I would say you and I, we've discussed this before, who can tend to fall on the perfectionist side of things, where sometimes self-judgment comes in, especially for me being a professional performer for so many years. I mean, that it's kind of like in the blood to be like, oh, no, that wasn't good enough, or that wasn't good. You also need to pursue and have that person or people in your corner who hold up a mirror and are like, no, you're amazing. You need to keep going. Because sometimes it's easy for us to get in our own heads and be like, well, I keep not getting the job, so must mean I don't have the skill. And that's not true. And I know that firsthand, because I faced thousands and thousands and thousands of no's. But that wasn't because I wasn't talented. It's because I didn't fit that bill for that show or that role or that movie role. So I had to have those people in my life to be like, Renee, this isn't a reflection of your talent. Keep going, keep working hard, but you got this. Mm-hmm. Because on that side of things, there are many people, I can't tell you the people that I came up in the ranks with that stopped pursuing it because they got in their own heads, and they're so talented. And it's such a shame, because maybe they didn't have those other people in their corner being like, no, this is not a reflection of you. This door is going to close. Another one's going to open. Keep going. And that's where perseverance comes in. And perseverance, I believe, is, if not the number one of the top values for success. And Hala talked about it with consistency, persistence, Persistency? Is persistency a word? I don't.
We're going to
No.
go with it. I'm going to title the show Persistency.
Yes, yes. I think consistency and persistency are the keys to success, because it's telling you it's not always going to be fun. It's not going to be pretty. You're going to get a lot of no's. People are going to tell you you're not good enough. But as long as you stay consistent and you keep moving forward, even if moving forward means having to pivot a little bit, like Hala did, saying, okay, so I was interning at Hot 97, but now, they didn't give me the promotion that I wanted. So now I'm going to change gears, but I'm still going to stay in the entertainment space. But now I'm going to go a little bit of a different angle. That's okay. But as long as we keep staying persistent and consistent, that's the key.
Well, and I was going to ask that just for your own experience, if you had ultimately, I mean, what was the goal to be? I want to be on Broadway, on the big shows, and you did do that. If you hadn't, though, if you had gone to the 1000th audition and you still just, you got to the end but didn't quite, would you have found another angle that I'm still going to be involved in the industry, but maybe in a different capacity, as opposed to going, well, I didn't make it, I'm going to go be an accountant?
Absolutely. Oh yeah. 1000%.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, one of my big goals that's always been is to have a talk show where I'm talking to people and I'm connecting and I can be myself. And maybe one day I come on there and I sing and I bring on my dancer friends. Like, that to me is still in that same vein of entertainment, of performing, but it's a different angle. So yeah, if that were the case, I absolutely would have to stay in it, because I have to, Kevin. It's a part of me. Like, people will often say, when did you know that you wanted to be on Broadway? Or when did you know you were going to be a performer? I said that for me, there was never like an aha moment where I was like, oh my goodness. It just was always part of who I was. It was natural. Just like breathing, I was like, I have to dance, or I have to sing. I have to be with people, making them laugh or making them smile. It was always a part of who I was. So for me, there was never a question that I wouldn't be in that space.
Okay, I want to go right there, because we talked a minute ago about kind of levels of saying, okay, first off, I want to, make my dad proud or whatever. I want to achieve a certain level of success. Even to look at that, I think that's great. To look at what is the lifestyle that you want. You go, man, I don't want a high income, high profile life. I want, a secure middle class existence where I get to experience this and have the picket fence and have the kids and whatever. I don't want to spend enough. I don't want to invest enough to go full tilt and live in Beverly Hills and whatever, which I can get. That's me. That doesn't thrill me a whole lot. I want to do other things. So, but to define that and say, I'm committed to that, I'm going to go after that. And then we talked about now the methodology of how we're going to do that. But you just said, and it's interesting, you said a couple of times, perform and to entertain. And then you qualified that a little bit ago by saying, okay, what you really wanted to do is communicate in a way. But I want to go and ask you at the end of that, because knowing you as much as I do at this point, it feels like whether you're on stage on Broadway or you're on, the big screen, or now you're on stage helping other people become a master communicator, that what you really dig at the core is you want to connect.
Yes. You said it. That's it. That's it.
But that's what's interesting to me, because you can do that. You can connect in so many different ways, because I look at my own trajectory, and unfortunately, without doing the work to get this clear granularly, that I'm grateful I did continue on the path of I want to communicate. I want to help people get over these real or perceived obstacles and really find personal growth and fulfillment. And I've continued to do that, but I wish I had known that early on. Okay, what's the essence of it? And you're saying, I want to connect. Now you decided I want to connect through communicating, entertainment, performance. Because I could say that we're similar in that way. That's not the path that I wanted to choose. Yeah. It had never crossed my mind. I don't know if I ever saw a play until I met my wife, who was a professional performer. But I did it through a different way. That feels like the holy grail is to figure out what is it at the core you want to do. Now, how can I do it? And you say, gosh, I really want to do like the guy, the Indian guy who goes after the NBA, whatever he ended up doing. And I think it was chiropractic or whatever. There's probably some propensity there. I want to do what? X. I want to be involved with high performers. I want to be involved with, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Doing what, and then what's the great span of availability so that you can then do the Hala thing. And okay, I'm going to try this, but it's all under the umbrella of going back to where you started, of the passion. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. You just said it. It all starts, the core of it all, whatever you may choose to do, what lights you up? Like, that's always my question. Like, what lights me up? When am I lit up from the inside out? And that's why I know, number one, it's when I'm connecting with people. When I, especially face to face, in person, I can feel your energy. I can grab your hand. I can give you a hug. That fires me up because I just feel like I am in my natural essence. So then that's a great exercise, Kevin, right? To then go from there. Okay. So what's a list of career paths that include that? And like you said, you and I both love communicating, connecting, helping people, but we both come at it from such different angles. And that just shows you that there are so many options to still do what you love, even if it's not in the exact way you believed it to be. And I think that's the beautiful surprise of life sometimes. Like that NBA player you're talking about. How cool is that? Like, how cool is that? That it's like he put that out there like, oh man, I love basketball, but I'm not gonna. He realized I'm not gonna make it as a basketball player. But now I'm as close as you can get, and I love what I do, and I'm making great money, and I'm helping other people to be able to be great basketball players. There's so many options that we blind ourselves to because we get hyper fixated on what we think it should be. And I think that's a great exercise for us to do for ourselves.
Okay, what you said right there, that's exactly where I was going, because when you said finding that thing that lights you up, if you, and it's a bad example because you actually achieved it, but I'll go with it anyways. If you had said, okay, what lights me up is performing in Cats on Broadway, period. Well, again, so you did it, but let's say that you hadn't. That's limiting. That aspect is limiting. If you don't go deeper, I would want somebody to go, okay, why?
Yeah.
Why Broadway and not whatever? Why, Cats? Why on? What is it about it at the end? If they could have gotten you down to say, gosh, I really want to connect with people. I didn't realize that. I really want to connect. Okay, well, you can do it there. You can do it here, whatever. Then back to Hala's story, then that sure makes the failures of each effort not so critical. Okay, so I tried, a radio show, didn't work. Okay, I'll try TV. And I thought I'd try to be a news anchor person, but that didn't work out. So I'm going to go try a talk show host. It really opens that up to where, again, you're committed to that end thing that you've now got clarity on. And yet you're not so blown away with, you got one shot to be on stage on Cats. Because so many things go wrong. They could have discontinued Cats at some point. God forbid. But they could have done that. And then you're totally out of luck. That's what seems is the scary thing, and should drive us now to go, okay, what's the bigger, with the bigger endeavor?
Take the blinders off. What's the bigger picture, broad scope, like 40,000 view?
Yeah.
What lights me up? The simpler, the better. Like I think asking ourselves the simple questions sometimes give us the most honest and true answers. It's like, what makes me happy? What makes me happy? Okay, you make a list of those things, and then it's like, okay, well, how could I go about doing that thing, connecting with people? And I could make a list. I can be an accountant, helping people with their finances. But Renee, you don't really love doing finances, so that's not for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like process of elimination. And it helps to remind ourselves that there's no rush. I know for me, I always have that internal clock ticking that's like, let's go, come on, it has to happen now. But when I think back in hindsight to my life, those times that I just kept moving forward in the direction of what I know I loved, and I kept working hard and I kept consistent, eventually these doors opened up, and the doors, Kevin, were beyond what I even dreamed of. To go back to your point, when we get so hyperfixated on, I want this job at this company and making this much salary. Don't get me wrong. Some people manifest in that way, and that's great. That's possible. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to first figuring out what lights you up, like me, connecting with people, being able to use my gifts of song, dance, acting. Okay, now the doors open wider. And when I had been on Broadway for about 3 years at that point, and this opportunity arose that, oh, they're doing the Jersey Boys film. I didn't even think twice about it at first, Kevin. I literally in my head was like, they're going to hire Marissa Tomei to play Mary Delgado, which was the role that I was playing on Broadway. They're going to hire A-list celebrities.
She would have been my second pick after you, no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. So I didn't really think much of it. And then lo and behold, the process happens. I end up playing the role, and I'm sitting there. I remember reading the movie script when they sent it to me, when I found out I got the role.
Mm-hmm.
And my breath was taken away at one moment, because I said, oh my goodness, this is beyond what I ever dreamed of. I thought of movies like, oh, that'd be great, but I never put a lot of thought into it. And I was like, I'm going to be starring in a major motion picture? Wait, what? But that's because I just knew what I loved to do, and I kept working hard, and then it was beyond what I dreamed of. So I think that's what's so cool when we identify first what lights us up.
Okay, I have a point I want to make, and I'm going to fish for you. I'm going to fish for it with you on that thing, because so you are on stage, and folks, if you haven't listened to our first show together, I don't remember the episode number, but type in, or go to self-helpful, or type in self-helpful and Renée Marino, and you'll find the series that we did, I don't know, a year ago. January.
Here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can go listen to her story. So, but here you are, and you had a full career on Broadway. So the full Monty. You then got the opportunity, and you end up on the screen in Clint Eastwood's film Jersey Girls, or Jersey Boys. That'll be the follow-up, is Jersey Girls. Yes. You're the Jersey girl on Jersey Boys.
Yes.
You do that. Now, if I had read that story, I think, oh, now boom, there's where you're going. Now you change gears, or not change gears, but you pivot that way and put things together. I was just in Clint Eastwood's movie, and now I'm going to go and be on other movies. You didn't do that. You actually did that and then took a pivot off stage, off of Broadway and big screen onto a different stage of speaking and communicating. Why? Let me ask you that. I don't know if I've ever asked. Why did you not go the movie direction? Because you were obviously primed to now go that avenue, and I'm sure you could be doing that today. But what happened?
Mm-hmm. Well, this actually connects with exactly what we're talking about when we started today. I was out in LA after I did the film, and I was auditioning. I booked my first TV show. I was a guest star in a brand new sitcom. I did commercials. I wrote my one-woman show. So there I am again, still in the performance vein, but I'm not booking other movies. So I'm like, well, I'm going to write my own show. Well, I'm going to do a commercial. I'm going to audition for TV. So the movie roles weren't coming as you would think. It wasn't like, oh, wow, okay, boom, 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 next movie after another. So I kept moving in the direction of what I loved, performing still, but now I wanted to take a little more control for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to write my own show so I can showcase and let you know what I really am capable of. And I did that, and I sold out the show twice in LA. And then after 3.5 years in LA, we came back to New York, and that's when I booked my most recent Broadway show, Pretty Woman. So I came back to Broadway then. I didn't continue that trajectory of movies because those doors weren't opening, and that was okay. In my mind, I was like, all right, if it's meant to be, it will, but I'm still going to keep pursuing my love. Went back to Broadway, and I started writing my book, Becoming a Master Communicator, because I was always interested in communication. and why people communicate the way they do. And now with our smartphones and all of this digital technology, I noticed a decline in people connecting in a genuine way. And I said, I got to write a book. So as I was doing 8 shows a week on Broadway, I was writing a book in between numbers. And when that show closed, Kevin, it was a feeling within me where I said to myself, I'm ready to use my other gifts now, my gifts of writing, my gifts of speaking, and helping other people to connect and create opportunities like I have. And that's all it was. It was this desire to utilize all of my gifts, because I always believe that one of the saddest things in life is wasted talent. That's a quote from Chaz Palminteri in the movie A Bronx Tale. And for me, I knew that being a writer, having a published, successful, best-selling book was what I had a goal for, but also writing was a gift of mine. And teaching and guiding and mentoring was always something I was great at. So I said, I'm going to do this now. And it was just a feeling to say, okay, new chapter.
Okay, a couple things out of that. And one, I really like, or I think it's really important that you felt like, okay, I'm ready for a new chapter. Even you did. I like that you said that. I'm interested in a new chapter, even more so than going, oh, maybe this isn't working out, or maybe I'm burnt out, or maybe it wasn't the negative. Just I'm ready, because I think it's important, because I don't think that we as a culture value or give enough permission for seasons for things. If you go to med school, you are going to be a doctor until you can't, or until you retire. And that's just what you're supposed to do. If you're going to do all it takes to be an actor, you're going to do what we see a lot of them do, which is great, like Clint Eastwood. And I just saw The Mule recently.
Yes.
And the dude's, what is he, like 90 or something?
He just had a birthday. He's past 90 now. I think maybe 93.
And he's still acting. I think that's awesome. And I think it's awesome when we see somebody, and we've seen, I've noticed some others, I'm trying to come to mind, like the Ashton Kutcher. Kutcher. Okay. I don't really know. I don't follow the guy, but I know he's a big actor. And now I read about him in business stuff. So maybe he's still doing acting and stuff. But at this point, he's gotten so involved in business. So has like Ryan Reynolds, man. I read about him more in business than I pay attention to his show. So maybe they're doing both. But people who have decided to go, oh, no, there's a girl that was in The Mask. What's her name?
Oh, Cameron Diaz.
Is that it? Did she totally leave? Is that she one of those?
Yes. Well, her, and also Gwyneth Paltrow has her, she's a businesswoman now. Isn't Goop her company?
We're trying to get her on, because we've had her health coach, Dr. Will Cole, and her therapist, Terry Riddle, both on the show. So we're trying to get her next. Okay. But like that, people who have said, I'm interested in something else. And I want to say that I think it's important, because I think we do get so caught up thinking, look, I've put my whole life into doing X. I got to keep doing that. And back to, you mentioned it a minute ago, transferable skills of going, gosh, what can I take? If we know the essence of what we're doing. Now, if you think all you are is an accountant, that's all you know how to do. What's beyond that? I love details. I love to pull things together. I love to make sense of things and to help whatever it is, get to that. And it'll open you up some other things. And you might find that you're tired of that, because I appreciate you looking, and you didn't say anything negative, but at some point you may have looked at it and go, man, I've done that. It's kind of not anything new. Let me do something else. Okay. I was fishing there a little bit, because I thought about something. You talked about doing a talk show.
Yes.
You and I have talked about that. I have never had that thought in my mind. I have no desire to be on camera. I have no desire to be on a big, network or whatever. But I'm open to finding myself there because of what I want to do at that deeper level. And so doing this, meeting with experts, talking with people like you, you and I did a show on being a master communicator. I read the book and read the message, and there were other things I wanted to pull out. And I feel like that's my skill. There were some other things that I want to pull out. And I really enjoy it when I dig into somebody's message and pull something out and they go, oh, I hadn't even thought about that way. And it's their message. And I said, well, yeah, I have this desire, this passion to pull things out and make them a little more tangible, a little more palatable, a little more digestible for people. And I think I do that. I want to do that with people on as big a stage as possible. I don't really want to be on the stage, but I want to do that. And as you and I have talked about, I want to go past what we're doing right now, which is remotely, because when you're in person, there's a different energy. It's an increased energy. I can reach over and touch your shoulder and go, ooh, right there. And it increases. So I want that to happen. And if the only way for that to happen in the capacity I want to is to be on stage, okay, then I'll let somebody powder my nose and I'll deal with it. And I'm playing with that to look again, if we know what that thing is, we may even find ourselves in a spot that in and of itself is not the passion. It is not what lights you up. So being on stage does not light me up. It does you. So if you and I end up at the talk show someday or doing a thing together, you're going to be digging that part. I'm not, but the essence of it is a shared thing. So for people to find themselves, I think that's interesting to consider, that you may find yourself in a platform that in and of itself may even be challenging, but you're there because it helps you achieve X. And we're getting to that. Okay, that we.
Oh, 1,000,000%. I think of that when I think of being an entrepreneur. There's so much about being an entrepreneur that I do not love. Quite honestly, I didn't even know what being an entrepreneur entailed when I started the journey 3 years ago. You know what I knew? That I wanted to help people to connect better in a genuine way.
Yeah.
I wanted to help people communicate. That's what I knew. And now I see, just as you said, well, in order to do that, especially when the world shut down and it was a pandemic, okay, well, you have to do that by being on video, which I love, being behind a computer. I don't love being behind a computer all day. I'm a physical person. I want to be out there moving, shaking, in person, face to face. Well, I couldn't do that for the first year or so. But that broader, that higher level or deeper goal was there to help people. And that was the vessel through which to do it. So that's when you put your head down, you get through it, and you keep reminding yourself why you're doing this. And Hala said that in your interview about how she is of the belief that you have to have that time where you are putting your head down in the sand, you are working, sacrificing, struggling, because then on the other side is everything that you want. And I understood that very well, because same going back to being a performer, even now being an entrepreneur, the day-to-day, daily tasks that I don't want to handle, but I know I have to right now, because then once I'm on those stages speaking to thousands of people and they have my book in their hands, man, that's worth it. That's what I do this for. But understanding that sometimes that's what has to happen. And she talked about how she was saying some of her clients would be like, oh, well, I don't want to do that. Well, it's then again, well, how bad do you want this thing? How important is it to you? I know for myself, there were years, Kevin, I had to miss everything, holidays, friends' weddings, because the schedule of a performer is the opposite of the rest of the world. While the 9-to-5ers are going to work, I'm just getting ready to hop on the train into the city. And then when everybody's asleep, I'm performing and I'm just getting home. So that's tough. But because I knew that my goal was so clear and I wanted to make it to Broadway, and I wanted to be able to share my gifts from the mediums of stage and screen, I did it. So I think that's something really important to remember.
I think it's huge. And it's looking at it, sounds negative, but some of the things are going to be a means to an end, like being an entrepreneur. I wish I had been more clear on that. I thought, kind of like what we talked about, like if you had said, all I know is I want to be, on stage as the lead in Cats, whatever. Okay, that's kind of limiting. Can we broaden out a little bit of that so that if that doesn't happen, you can still achieve the overall goal? I wish I had understood that in regards to being an entrepreneur, Renee. My dad was, that's all I understood. I didn't authentically work well under other people. That was fair. But even so if I went to be an entrepreneur just because of that doesn't necessarily mean that being an entrepreneur is the holy grail. And later on now in my later years, I realized I'm not. My wife told me this, and she said it with great tact. And she said, honey, you're not that great of a businessman. And she's totally right. And I didn't get it though. I thought that that was it. And it wasn't. It was a means to an end for me to create and to do what I wanted to. It kind of required me to be an entrepreneur. I wish I had understood that, because as an entrepreneur, that is not my art. Being a business person is not my art. I am now partnering and letting other people do the business part, because I'm just not that good. I'm not that interested in it. I don't care to talk about business. I like to talk about ideas and opportunities. And so thank you for bringing up that point. That's my one of my best friends, Randy James, Dr. Randy James, which a lot of people listen to here on the show on our peak wellness episodes. When he became a doctor, he literally consciously said, I just don't ever want to be a business person. And he kept hold of that until finally he realized that, okay, I'm a medical doctor. I'm seeing people. We take their insurance. That does not allow me the time to go deep with them and find out what's really at the core of their issues, which is functional medicine. I want to do functional medicine. If I'm going to do that, I got to become a businessman, son of a gun. Mm-hmm. And now today he is, and that's part of his story. He was a reluctant businessman, and he gets help because he doesn't enjoy that part. He's not good at that part. He's good at doing his thing. But yeah, looking at it, that's what you got me to thinking of is some of the aspects of it. It's a means to an end. And some of it you may not like me, doing the business side of it. Now, if we could take it back to you, you don't look at, okay, so I was on stage. It was a means to an end just so I could connect with people. You also love that part of it too. So that's awesome. So, but that's different. Again, we made it so much broader, and back to Hala's message, man, this makes the failures amongst the little tryings of different things around it so much easier to understand when it's not stuck on one holy grail opportunity.
Yeah. And again, as a culture, I think we don't value trial and error enough. I think we are in a culture where it's like, this is what it is. This is who I am. This is what I do.
Yeah.
Well, how about trial and error? How about you fail or you learn? You keep going, moving forward until the pieces fit together. That's okay. And if we can adopt that perspective, I think that would take so much pressure off of all of us, thinking that we have to get everything figured out right now at this moment. That's a big problem with students who are heading to college. What's your major going to be? They're trying to decide what they want to do for, quote unquote, the rest of their lives at 16 years old. Well, some people know that, and that's great, but not everybody. So let's celebrate, for now, this is what I'm doing. And I'm going to see if there are aspects of it that I like. And if I don't, okay. I think there's this idea that if you are, especially as a younger person in the world, if you try a bunch of things and you don't like them, now you're flighty. Now you're not focused. And it's like, well, no, how about we celebrate that and say, no, let's try. Let's throw the spaghetti against the wall, see what sticks, and then go from there, because then you're getting a taste of, oh, this is what I like. This is what I don't like. And sometimes that's the best part of trial and error, is figuring out what doesn't work for you. Kevin, I'm like you with that. The business aspect of things, the analytical side, the documenting every little thing. I don't love that. I want to be speaking about communication, giving you simple tools and practices, but I don't want to go back on the back end and do the funnels and do all of that. Did I do that in the beginning? Yes. And I realized quickly, okay, I don't like this. And now I can have other people where that's their zone of genius. They can do it.
Well, I love that story from you. I know that you're partnered with Howard Partridge, he's connected with Ziegler Corporation, and he does a lot of that back end stuff that you don't want, the funnels and the whatever. And I remember you saying, yeah, we're doing this split, and I'm so happy to give him that percentage of that. And so I don't have to do that. But again, back to your trial and error, that, it makes me think of Arthur Brooks. So we just had him on the show. His book, Strength to Strength, is talking about our mental capacity in the first half of life, and that wanes. And then the second half of life, if we're just trying to push along, it'd be kind of like you. It'd be kind of like you saying, look, my only ability and value is as an actor on stage. And you're now realizing, oh my gosh, I'm a little tired of it. I've kind of done that. It doesn't inspire me as much, but that's all I got. So I just got to keep pushing through until I just literally burn out or fall dead on stage. well, that's kind of difficult. And he's saying, okay, your brain capacity literally changes midway through life, and you're not probably going to want to do some of the same things. And you're probably not even going to be as good at it, but you can be even better at X, Y. And of course, he's talking about fluid knowledge and crystallized knowledge. So if you want more on that, go listen to that show or get Strength to Strength, his book. If we know, again, that foundational thing that Renee knows, no, I want to connect. And at some point, I just I wanted to do something else. Now I'm connecting through a book, through speaking engagements, through an online course. I might do a talk show, I'm doing podcasts and whatnot. And how great is that then to go with what it is that you do want to, that does fill you up, that does fit at this time and allows you, as you said, to kind of evolve. Because my kids, you're going to do different things. And again, I wish I had known this, that my desire was to connect. So that back when I was a pro cyclist and we created a team, and then we created a club, and then we created a newsletter, and we did all this stuff. And you're going, Kevin, what are you doing? I thought you raced bikes. Well, apparently I want to connect and communicate, connect with people. And I didn't realize that. I wish that had been solidified and going, oh, it would have changed. I wasted a lot of time not knowing that. And I probably looked at some things and go, well, that was a complete failure. And it wasn't. It just took me trial and error. It took me to going, oh, okay, now to the next thing. And now we're back to transferable skills again.
Yeah. Yeah. So the last Broadway show I did that I told you was Pretty Woman the Musical. It was my 5th Broadway show. And this was the first time that I was not just on stage as a performer. I was now also the dance captain and assistant to the choreographer. So now it's like I'm on the creative side with the director, choreographer, but I'm also on the performing side. And this opened up my eyes in a huge way, because now I'm not just the one in front of the table auditioning, waiting for them to tell me yes or no. Now I'm also the one behind the table while other people come in and audition, and I'm seeing the other perspective now. I'm the one teaching the choreography. I'm the one connecting with my cast members to make sure they understand the notes that the choreographer is giving. I'm now the liaison between the stage manager and the cast. So when there's miscommunication, I'm helping to communicate it in a way that's more suitable so the performers understand it.
Yeah.
And Kevin, I really believe that was that next level of my career that made me start to open up my eyes and say, I'm ready to be a little more in the driver's seat, because now I've done it. Okay, now I'm not just on the stage. Now I'm helping people and I'm in control in some way, shape, or form. And that's when I said, maybe it would be great to start becoming a coach, a mentor, a guide to help people with communication. I mean, Renee, you've done this for years. You used to teach dance for years and years to little girls at your dance studio. You always taught workshops, Broadway workshops for aspiring actors and actresses. You always taught dance workshops. And I'm thinking, wow, so I've always been a coach and a communication expert in so many ways. So this isn't something brand new. It's transferring of my gifts.
Which at the end of it, and I did not intend for that to be such a focal point, but it's just such a great one. It's also just so smart. I mean, if you had known, it would have been, and I'm grateful that you made it, as you did. But at some point you could have, had a car accident. It maimed your leg and you couldn't dance. You're out. If you had known and been investing somewhat in those other areas, what a great, that's the kind of safety net that we want to have. So it's just so great. I knew that you would resonate with this and bring me to different areas, even more evolved levels of understanding of this concept of failure and trying and what we commit to and coming to this core thing. So I think that we land on persistency. Right.
Persistency, baby. Our new word.
Yeah. To the core, but it is to the core of what you want to do, understanding it can have many different platforms, methodologies, vehicles, whatever you want to call it. Hey, so fun. Thank you. So someday, maybe we'll find ourselves on stage with some other folks so we can grab them by the arm and go, yes. And
yes!
Energy flow. All right. Hey, in the meantime, this is awesome. Thanks, Renee.
Thank you, Kevin.
Well, I hope this episode was as inspiring and freeing to you as it was for me. Thinking more about my goals and objectives and what is down at the core, the foundation, is so helpful. I want to do or achieve or have X because it means what to me? I mean, it addresses what for me. And as we get down to that core, we open up more possibility and opportunity for vehicles to try as we seek what is best to get us toward our goal. Thanks to Renée Marino for joining me here and adding so much to the conversation. Her book, again, is Becoming a Master Communicator. And you can find her at Renee, R-E-N-E-E, ReneeMarino.com. Friends, thank you for tuning into Self-Helpful, where I curate the sea of new personal development materials and help you integrate wisdom into your life, because we all want to elevate our own experience and improve the way we show up for others.